Getting ready to go live? All right. Let's stretch. Oh.
Rick, do you want to turn your phone to Zoom?
Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to another roundtable episode here at Airgunexpo 2021. I say that so many times every day. We have a segment here. We're going to have Mark Davis with us from Umarex. I want to say thank you to all our sponsors that are making this happen. We've got Airguns of Arizona, Gateway to Airguns, and obviously Umarex as well. We've got a lot of their products. We just did a segment for you guys, a studio segment today, Mark. We went through just how you guys have everything from beginner BB stuff all the way up to the hammer and everything in between. So you guys bring a lot of value and experience and just huge product depth to the table for Airgunners. So I'm very glad that you're here with us tonight.
I'm glad to be here with you guys. It's a thrill.
All right. So you guys actually provided a topic, and I'm going to throw it out there. And my phone just disappeared from me. So I'm going to try and get this as perfect as I can, because I was texting JB as he was driving, and he texted me back. I'm pretty sure he had somebody else do that, though, because he wouldn't text and drive. But the topic was this. It was really about just how PCPs have been so they've been like game changers, market disruptors, specifically these entry-level PCPs. We talked a little bit in the last segment about just how technology has changed so much. When I started, I would never even consider shooting an air gun at 50 yards, but now that is the standard. If you can't group at 50, you might as well go home. And so, especially when you're looking at you guys have the Origin, we need to talk about that. We need to talk about the Gauntlet. We need to talk about all the stuff that goes into making those things run and et cetera, and how disruptive that has been to just the general airgun world, because we're talking guns that have high performance, incredible value, that come in at a price point. Makes me scratch my head how you guys do it. So I think that's really the topic. We have a panel here, and I think you know everybody here at the table. There's myself, there's this guy Joe and Travis and Larry, and all the way down at the end we have little Angie, and I know you know Angie. So what do you think of PCPs and their place in the industry, specifically the entry-level stuff and mid-range stuff you guys have that have just completely been market disruptors?
Sure. Yeah, there's no doubt about it, and I'm coming from the same point you are, Rick, when you were saying that, just a few years ago, you wouldn't have been talking about grouping an air gun at 50 yards, it'd be like, man, can I hit a soda can at 50 yards? I'd be happy, But as growing up as a kid, it was the same thing with me. Air guns were, my brother, he was more into it than I was as far as the air guns go. And he had an old sidecocker, this is 100 years ago. I have no idea what it actually was, but that's what, that was his squirrel gun until he got a rimfire rifle. And, we were just, happy to get any kind of accuracy out of it and all. And we're fascinated by how powerful that was. But, you fast forward now and you've got, PCP rifles that can, get pinpoint accuracy. And, it's not something that the Olympians are shooting in competition. It's something that's been tuned up for performance. So that appeals to so many different people. You've got, sportsmen, you've got people that just want to plink. And it's, you got to make people happy and all sorts around, it's got to be accurate. It's got to be powerful. And it's got to work for their lives. And that's what I think that, the big challenge is getting a gun that into somebody's hands that, they're not going to have to, make too much of a sacrifice in other areas as far as denying their family something that they need. So that's kind of what we do, what we've been doing with the Origin and what we've been doing, starting off with the Gauntlet.
Okay. I apologize. I'm trying to make sure I got the email to Aiden correctly. Yeah. So I'm going to do that. Gotcha. You guys here at the table, I mean, all of you have, I think everybody here has experience. We shot the Gauntlet the other day. Mm-hmm. We've got experience, at least I do. I know Travis does. Have you shot the Origin?
No, I've never shot the
Okay,
Origin.
what about you, Larry? Have you shot the Origin?
No,
Well, I've got that. Before you guys leave, you should try it because here we're talking about an air gun with a filling solution in a box for $350, and that gun will group an inch at 50 yards.
I have now a lot of questions, not questions, but a lot of comments I get in my videos is if I don't test a gun at 50 yards and find out the grouping, I haven't done it justice yet. So the 50-yard grouping is big now, absolutely huge.
I think we can consider that industry standard at this point.
Oh yeah,
You know, being on the GTA every day, that's what everyone pretty much determines as how well something shoots,
Yep.
regardless of bore size or, you know, what pounds of energy or whatever. What it does at 50 yards is basically what it used to be 10 years ago at 25 yards.
You got a question?
We have two questions. Will the Origin come in 25 cal in the future?
Yes, the Origin will come in 25 caliber in the future. It's one of those things that's
Yay.
going to roll out. Yeah, it will happen.
Okay.
That's
Nice.
great news, man. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That is good news.
Canadians are still waiting for the Airventuri Avenger, probably the best introduction PCP for the price point. Anyone know why it has not been available on the Canadian market?
Well, that's not a product really that Umarex handles. So maybe we can address that on another day. But I really want to stick to Umarex product tonight. Do we have another question before we maybe we should move on to the Gauntlet, because you talk about a disruptive product. I mean, the Origin's coming on the heels of the Gauntlet, right? So the original Gauntlet, and I mean, when I saw the Gauntlet, I said, gosh, guys have been building that gun for years. Nobody had put it together in a commercially available, here you go package. So the Gauntlet is what, a QB Chief or a QB 78 with a HPA conversion with a multi-shot. I mean, you're really looking at all these parts that had already been done separately, but you guys took that and said, you know what, why don't we just put all that together? So, I mean, what was your thinking? Were you there with the Gauntlet? I'm trying to remember when you came on board with Umarex.
So I've actually been with Umarex for quite a while. When the Gauntlet was being developed, I was in the service department, so I was answering tech questions and such on email, through the phones, and that sort of thing. And I remember vividly when they were working on it, because of course there was all sorts of testing going on. There were, of course, and the people that do that sort of thing are pretty tight-lipped about it. I would see various people from the industry show up, and because they were consulting with them and such, and so I knew something was going on. And when I finally got wind of it, it was well before the release, of course, but I was amazed by it, because I was like, man, this sounds like a really, really cool air rifle. And, I was unaware. I knew what the QB78 was. I didn't realize to what extent people were hot rodding that particular rifle.
There's probably somebody right here that's done a little of that in his life.
Maybe.
You ever hot rod a QB78?
I got one that smokes, yeah.
All right. There you go.
But yeah, so yeah, I remember when it came on, and I was very excited about it. And it was just like, man, when we finally actually delivered it to market and saw people's reaction to it, that was very satisfying. And I think in a similar way, the Origin's kind of done the same thing, because for me as a consumer, I'm working there, so I get access to some of this stuff. But for me as a consumer to drop, $300 or more on an air rifle, put a scope on it, maybe a little bit more now too, and then have to come up with a way to fill it, on top of that, another $200 for a good pump. That would have been quite a commitment for me, and that's where the Origin is like, okay, so you're on the fence with PCP air guns, try this. It's not something that's going to break your bank. You can get into it and find out what you've been missing with an air rifle. So that's one of the things that's very exciting about the Origin.
Yeah, I agree. I think the changes that you had, the two platforms, because they're very, very different.
Yes.
The Gauntlet was something that delivered a higher performance than the Origin. it delivered features that you would only ever find on very expensive guns. For example, a bottle fed system with a regulator. That is something that, you know, companies are still trying to figure that out. And then you delivered that accurate. It was accurate. It was quiet, had good power, bottle fed, regulated, user. It's, we won't call it, you know, the other gun tinkerable. You know the one I'm talking about, but there are a lot of things you can do with that gun that just make it very easy for a person to get in there and play with it. And I know Hajimoto's done a plethora of stuff to help people do that. So that gun really changed things, because we're looking at, it wasn't at a $600 price point or a $500 price, it was a $300 price point.
Yeah.
And that was, I looked at that and I knew what had been done, and I would say, how did that all come together at that price point? But that's sort of the power of Umarex in a sense, you guys having the ability to pull that stuff together that way.
That is true. It's one of the good things, you know, the way that we're able to do things. It's, we try to think with the consumer in mind every step of the way, you know, but it's not just in terms of price. We want to make a good quality product. And of course, that's, nobody ever wants to make something that's going to blow up in somebody's face.
Exactly.
You know? Like, oh, I bought this 5 minutes ago and it's trash. Nobody wants to make that product. Trust me, nobody. But at the same time, we want to, you know, that's one of the things in the scale of the business that we do. We're able to bring a price down, you know, where a smaller manufacturer that's making a niche product, you know, they can probably exceed some, you know, quality expectations or something, you know, that we can't do in what we're doing. But, you know, it's like anything else. It's a compromise. You know, but I think what we're doing is we're doing a pretty good job of it. You know, we try to address things and make it better and make changes along the way to improve things.
Let's jump for, we got a question.
Yeah.
All right. We got a question here. What's the question?
Will the hammer platform ever be used for different calibers? I can imagine it being used in 45 or 35 would bring high velocities and give it a greater range.
Yeah, I can't speak definitively on that. I will say that, you know, our R&D people are always working on something. So there's definitely, you know, other caliber research being done, other caliber development being done. We've got stuff that we're working on all the time. So yeah, it could happen in the future. Maybe it's the hammer platform, maybe it's something else entirely. But yeah, don't be surprised when we come out with another big bore of some sort.
It'll be impressive, whatever you guys do.
Well, that's the idea.
So let's fast forward a little bit. So you had the Gauntlet, very, very successful. By the way, there are 4 other people here that are welcome to talk. All right. So if you guys have questions.
I had something to say. I was going to say thank you for the M-LOK.
M-LOK
on everything.
Joe, you are very welcome, my man.
Man, that's amazing. I like that. That makes it a lot easier.
That was actually
that was a boon.
That was a focal point of our actual one of the focal points of our video today, is we were showing how easy it is to add rails, because I had bought some M-LOKs for that purpose, because it's just makes it that much easier.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward now. So you come out with the Gauntlet, you disrupt the market with this PCP, this regulated, high-powered, adjustable trigger, all of these things. Was it the perfect product? No. It had some refinement that needed to be done. Then you sort of wait a little bit. You come out with the Origin to kind of get more people just shooting. And then right on the heels of the Origin, now you come out with the Gauntlet II, which kind of addresses some of those refinement issues. Because, I mean, come on, the stock on the original one wasn't the best. But so what? If we could shoot the gun and get 55 foot-pounds if you wanted to push it out of the 25, and it was a great gun. But now the Gauntlet II sort of has yet again disrupted things. I mean, the price is higher, but you're getting more gun. Would you say that's where we're at here?
I would say that's a fair description of what's happened with the Gauntlet II. That it's not just something that we went and changed the color of a stock on and maybe made a little upgrade here and there. We went through and did some substantial upgrades to that platform. So I believe, yeah, you are getting quite a bit more gun with this than you were with the original Gauntlet. That's not to say that, like for me, I've shot both of them. I see things from the one that I'd like to take on the other. Like, I'd like to have the shot count higher, but for my plinking that I primarily do, I hardly ever do any hunting on my own with it. So I'm like, I could actually go with the same regulator that's in the Gauntlet now and just do with the added capacity. But at the same time, when it comes down to it, shooting that higher regulated pressure is quite thrilling. And that was one of the things that we were doing today, JB and I, as we were developing some content on that and a few other products. And it was very satisfying to see that in 25 caliber with a 33.95 grains JSP pellet, just really smack that target hard. And I was just like, oh man, that's nice.
We've got a bunch of questions stacking up. So what do we got? What's the first question?
I do not own an Umarex PCP air rifle, but I do own the Umarex Air Saber. Has there been any further advancement or products regarding PCP arrow bolt launchers?
There's nothing new for 2021. Almost said 1921. But no, there's nothing new in the air archery category for this year. Are we continuing to work and develop on that sort of stuff? The answer to that, just like it is with the big bore stuff, yeah, we're always developing and researching and trying to figure out some more things. Yeah, we know that there's people that are looking to do some other applications, not just shoot at a target, not just shoot at mammals. There's people who are adapting their own, air sabers and air javelins for bow fishing applications. So that's, I don't know if we're going to go in that direction ourselves or just allow people to make accessories that work with us for that application, bow fishing. So, but as far as product goes, there's nothing that's going to be released in 2021 in the air archery department.
Okay, next question.
I have the mighty Walther Rain in 25. Will there ever be a 30 cal?
Good question. That's probably a possibility, whether it's in the Rain category or a new platform altogether or something else. I can't say right now what that's going to end up looking like. No.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, Travis here from Gateway to Airguns. I'm a self-professed air gun snob.
We've actually, it's not
It's true.
It's just,
Yeah,
we
it's
all
a
just
fact.
called him that. He just happened to now accept.
I admit it. But anyway, do you guys have any plans in the future to produce a mid-range or even high-end air rifle?
Also a good question. I really don't know the answer to that. I think we are trying to diversify our offerings. Rick kind of already alluded to that. We make, airsoft guns that you can pop, 20, 30, $35 on and get an airsoft gun, of course, up to, something like the Hammer that's, a pretty decently priced product. Are there some gaps in that lineup? Sure. And it's always something that we are working to address so that, we're making sure that we want to make sure that we can, find where that consumer is and satisfy their need with one of our products. It's just something that time will take care of.
You guys actually, let me jump in just for a second on that, because you guys had before the high-end guns we have now. I mean, we saw some high-end guns today. We're talking guns that are like space age, voodoo crap going on in these guns. I don't know what, there's some weird stuff. There's some woohoo. I mean, and there's some stuff happening there that's just, I don't know how, there's like wizards in that thing and stuff. I'm just saying. But I mean, you guys actually had some air guns that were that $800 to $1,000 price point many, many years ago. You kind of walked away from that because you had like the Dominator. That was what, $1,100? When you were all in on something like that. And I wish to God I'd never sold mine. But you had the Dominator, the Maxima Thor was about an $800 gun. You had the Rotec, which actually was a reasonably priced
Yeah.
Walther German built, about $600, went up to maybe 800 at sometimes. But you guys actually had some stuff. But now the market, I mean, there's a threshold now in the market where, and we have Airguns of Arizona here, which lives in that $1,500 to $3,000 market. And I guess the question I would have, sort of like Travis, and I know you probably can't say anything, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you guys ever see kind of dipping your toe back into that? Like, I mean, Walther, I mean, come on, Walther can build stuff, right? I mean, they build Olympic guns. So they have the precision they can do.
Yeah, they certainly have the ability and they have the staff to do it.
And I was just curious if, as well, I mean, could we see a $2,000 Umarex,
or even $1,000
Maximus, ridiculous, ludicrous, 0.172 laser. I don't know. Just throwing stuff. I mean, I think, just from like an ultra enthusiast perspective, there may be space in the market for something like that. Given what we're seeing, just so many of these niche stuff, and completely different world when you're dealing with a boutique product. And you sell hundreds of years. When you guys sell tens of thousands of units per year, it's a completely different scenario. I get that. But if you're not planning it, boy, we'd like to encourage you to maybe consider it. I'd love to see like a Walther chassis gun. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I'm all chassis. Yeah, do a chassis gun now.
Walther, if you should take a look at my.
Sounds like we need to convert like an LG 400 into something that's more attuned to
there you go.
The recreational shooting market.
Yeah, there you go. Just to put a different valve.
Long range recreational shooting market.
Yeah. Well, we were talking just a while ago from a competitive perspective. They've got the extreme field target. And gosh, can you imagine some of the laser beams Walther could build that would be competitive there? It's another place. I would get more excited about the extreme field target and competing in something like that than I would traditional field target, just as an American shooter. And I know there's a ton of, Larry, I know you guys got a ton of field target shooters. What's the age group that you guys have in the field target industry right now? What's the average age?
Anywhere from 30 to, we've got a member of our club that's 83.
What's the average though? How many 30s to how many over 60s?
It's got to be in
Probably-
the late 40s, huh?
Yeah, late 40s.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing with extreme field target a younger,
See, that's
group.
not exactly my
And that's what
because you
they're
can
trying to
bring
do.
your hunting gun
Right.
and shoot extreme field target.
And
See,
that's
and-
why they developed extreme.
And that was
predators.
the point I was trying to get to, is that I think that there is a market. You guys have already disrupted this one market. Throw in my 2 cents, knock on Richard's door, go talk to Steve, say, hey, these guys got a banging idea. Let's build this. And they'll go put a team together and I can be on the team and we'll go shoot extreme field target. But this guy here is shooting prairie dogs at 200, 300 yards with air guns.
Oh, yeah.
I think that there is a opportunity for yet another disruption in the market that you guys, I don't know, you've done it already. Why not do it
Yeah.
again?
Yeah.
Be kind of cool.
Good point. Well taken. You're definitely right on the money there. There's, and somebody that's a lot smarter than me, way above my pay grade, et cetera, it certainly does need to look into that. And I'm hopefully some of those guys are watching right now.
Yeah, right. JB's probably like this. Shut up,
Yeah,
Rick.
he's like,
Shut up,
dear
Rick.
God,
Shut up, Rick.
I had such a good day with Mark, and I'm going to let him go tomorrow.
Well, I have a question kind of following that up.
Please go.
So it's two questions, but it's kind of the same thing. So where do you get most of your consumer feedback? And is there a place that they can go to give you
That's a
feedback?
Great question.
That is a fantastic.
Oh, wow.
question.
So we get a lot of feedback comes in through social media, of course. We got the various social media platforms that we take care of. We get feedback through consumers, through their contacts on phone and email. And so if there's some sort of trend going on or something like that, we can pull data from that and figure out what's going on. But there's some things that's just like, it can be said to you, but not be said to you directly. So, we can kind of look at the Legends line of air guns to talk about that some. We know that people are, they got a lot of interest in historical replicas. So, like the M712, that gun's been on our market for quite some time now, and it's still a big seller. Everybody loves that BB gun. And then, we come out with the MP, the MP40 replica. We got the M1A1, and those things are just like, you pull that from the culture that you're in, because, they've never gone out of style. First of all, you've got, people of all ages that are just into history and want that connection to history. And so you can kind of extrapolate, what's going on in your popular culture to figure out, man, what would they really want? And so this year we're just like, it was the M29 Smith and Wesson product, on the licensing of things. We're just like, that's going to be a big hit. And I remember it was a few years back, it was at an NRA show. And so several of us had gone to dinner, and president of the company, Richard Turner, was there with us. And we were talking about, how much energy was into the Legends line. And, it was like every time we had something that was a cool type of gun, it was like those things were just like instant hits. People loved them. And, he was like, we need to connect with people even deeper on this level. And so, it just so happens, on a project like the Smith & Wesson M29, we had a license with agreement with Smith & Wesson. So it was like a match made in heaven. We already had some footwork there. We don't even have to put this in the Legends line. It's a licensed product, and it directly connects to their core customers that love the M29. Of course, y'all know that the popular culture history that particular model has behind it. So yeah, we get feedback from all different areas. And like I said, we listen to consumers through various channels, and we're trying to always keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on. And stuff like this is a good way to do it too, because I've got industry professionals here, the people who are just cut their teeth on this stuff, and so we're listening to you guys too.
That's great. We got another question coming up here.
Any plans to make any pistol, preferably PCP, that's 25 cal or larger, that would be higher energy?
Ooh, good question. Like I said, it's probably one of those things that's under development that I don't know it, because once again, I can't really speak on stuff that is in development, but it's probably a possibility. I know that we're trying to, there's some popular products out there like that. Short things that shoot accurate are really, really cool in the firearms industry. I don't see why that wouldn't carry over into the air gun industry as well. So I think it would be very exciting for us to have a product like that could develop significant energy and yet be compact and very discreet. Yeah, I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I'd want that.
Yeah, and we see a lot of customers coming in, and one of the questions that we just defer at this point is, what air gun can I buy for personal protection?
Oh.
And so, there's really nothing there right now. So,
Another question?
I just hit 3,000 shots through my Origin today. Any chance of making seal kits available for some of us folks who do repairs ourselves, or parts available in general, like stocks, spare screws, etc.?
Good question. Parts availability. Some guns are a little bit trickier to work on than others, and sometimes, as far as parts availability goes itself, there's a lag in the time between we get product and parts for that product. So, in answer to that specific question, I don't know. I just do not know. I do know that the Origin is a little bit tricky to work on, and one of the things that we've, from the gunsmithing type of perspective of it, was it was probably not a good idea to take apart the air cylinder as you would probably never get back together again. So as far as the other parts of that, as far as availability, I don't know enough about that one to speak on that. I'm sorry.
What's the warranty on the Origin?
I believe it is 3 years.
All right.
if
So
I'm-
Wow.
my question then would be this, is I understand that nobody wants to be without their gun for a period of time, but I also have been down to your service department many times, and Glenn down there runs an amazing team. Once you guys get stuff in, it's turned around pretty quickly. If you've got a gun with a 3-year warranty and you've just been shooting it and it develops an issue, that's expressly when that warranty comes into play. You just need to make use of it. A gun like the Origin, I would not, and I am pretty fearless about taking things apart, putting them back together. I know that there's some of that voodoo magic going on in that particular gun with the reaccess gas ram providing boosting and all the other things. That's not a product I would feel comfortable taking apart unless I was just prepared to completely brick it and know that I'm going to eat the loss. So I would discourage consumers that aren't trained to do so to having anything to do with taking apart the mechanical side of the Origin. I would, however, strongly advise simply use the warranty that's included with the gun and let Umarex fix it if it becomes an issue you need to have repairs done. That's why Umarex has a service department, and that's why they put a warranty on the gun. So that would be my 2 cents, Mark. I don't know what you think about that. But,
no, that's great. I was strictly thinking about, just the person who, I know tuners a lot of times they want to work on their gun, and I understand where he's coming from on that. There's people out there, there's like the old dudes that know stuff, and I know there's a lot of people in the air gun community that are just that person. They work on their stuff, they know their stuff. But there are some cases where, it's probably best, like you said, to just leave it alone, give our service department a call and let somebody else take care of it in that case.
Well, we've gone long, and John's here. He said he'd be here till midnight, so it's not a big deal. He's got nothing better to do. So if we take a little extra time, this is a lot of fun. I think that these discussions really help you guys and us connect to the consumers, and we all learn a lot. We learn what they're thinking about and so forth. I had a question here, and I think it's worth addressing only because I know a little bit about, not only the history, but also then the solution. And we're going to talk this wasn't my idea. The hammer. I have one. I have production hammers now. They working great. There was a time where there were some bumps in the road, which just to say it lightly. But that's not people know that. It's been a long, hard road. But now these things that have been issues that had sort of plagued the development, and really what it was, as a guy who's working to bring a product to market, something that you think you'll have done in 90 days, maybe 18 months. It is way harder than you can imagine. But from what I understand now, some of those early issues really have been ironed out. You guys have units coming off the production line regularly now that are going out to consumers, that the inventory is building up, and it's a solid product. Do you have, any comments about that in general?
Sure. Yeah. It's a learning process anytime you go into an endeavor as large as something like this was. And so it's, what can I say? We've learned a lot. And there's no two ways about it. Yeah, we probably did come out a little bit too quick on this before we had all the manufacturing issues. There's not a lot of parts that are outsourced from various places, but it's like once you get consistency in those parts, and that's what's one of the things that gets lost in translation. Is like somebody will like make a change somewhere and it doesn't get back up the line. So that's what, as much as anything, as far as in the manufacturing process goes, it was communication. A lot of times it was where things were lost, and getting the drawings updated and having to go back to square one on something like that. So it's one of those things. It's like, if you've never attempted something on this scale. And like I said, well, the first thing is that a lot of the parts of this are actually coming from the United States or being made here. And so that was one of the challenges as far as finding people who were able to do what we were needing to do. So, it's a challenge that we've learned a lot from. Are we going to have future challenges? Yes. Is everything going to go smooth? No.
I'll say this. I mean, I was there. I shot one of the very first ones before they were out. And I've been along the various revisions, either at SHOT Show or in at your range at Umarex over the years. And I think I really would like people to keep this in perspective. Okay. Umarex is trying to bring a high performing, high value, high quality product to market at a price that most people can afford. Right. So we're looking at a lightweight, 50 caliber, 600 foot-pound out of the box, multi-shot big bore. That's $900. I mean, when you really look at that benchmark, it's stinking amazing you can even do it at all. So I get that. And I hope people will all right, it's a learning curve. But the beautiful thing is with a learning curve is you do eventually learn it. And now you guys actually have, like I said, I know you have a number of units coming off that assembly line ready to go on a daily basis. So this is something that has been learned. It's been, I can't say conquered because we don't know what's, like you said, there may be additional challenges that come up, but I've got a unit, I've shot it. It works great. I love the doggone thing. If I was going to go buy, an off the shelf big bore today, why would I not take a serious look at the hammer purely because it checks so many boxes and the price point is so aggressive. It's really at the top of my list. It's why I carry the Pro Shop.
Rick, something you mentioned to me a while ago about the hammer was that if people would look at it like this, we'd rather you take the time and get it right than rush it and have serious consequences. So I think that's a good perspective.
Yeah. And there were some missteps early on, but again, those things have been, I think, mostly addressed. So I think if you were looking at the hammer today, I think you can buy with confidence and realize that the mistakes of before have largely been learned from. I mean, I don't know if you would agree with that, Mark. I would hope you would, but I think that's just where it's at on the hammer topic.
And we get to shoot it tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to shoot it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So, and the other thing, it's kind of significant now in this day and age that, where there's hardly any product available anywhere for anything, is that in terms of manufacturing, as you said, off of our line every day, we are producing new hammers every day. So that's an encouraging thing, even with all the difficulties in manufacturing and shipping that are going on right now, that we're still, keeping running full steam ahead on that project. And also, like you said, we're trying to make sure that we're getting out the most high quality product that we can along this whole time. So things are looking up in that regard. Yes, we've learned stuff from that. It's helping us in the development of other products that are going to be coming out in 2022 and 2023 and beyond.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Okay. Well, we are running really late, Angie. So go ahead and hit your question.
Well, we've already talked to Airguns of Arizona and also Pyramid Air, and they said it's not really a production shortage. It's that more people are buying airguns and airgun. So is that the same case with you guys?
Yeah, I'd say it's probably both. There's shipping irregularities. There's things that's going on in other parts of the world that I don't really know anything about. But yeah, the consumer market has gone absolutely bonkers this last year and a half or so. So yeah, there's demand. There's issues stressing the market everywhere. So it's, JB and I, we talked about this almost the whole way back home, is what's, how crazy things really are right now and all the various reasons for it. So, but yeah, it's, yeah, it's kind of crazy world in that regard. But yeah, it's, we're trying to keep, and it's a disappointing thing from a consumer perspective, because you go to a retailer's website or to a manufacturer's website and you're like, man, I can't get this product. And, that's disappointing for everybody, because we're letting the consumer down, that we don't have the inventory, the consumer doesn't know necessarily that 50,000 other people have decided that they wanted, whatever product it is, they just want one. That's all they know. So we don't want to let anybody down, but yeah, the demand is crazy. There's difficulties all over. So yeah.
We have another question here. John from Hawkeoptics is in the studio, and he's off camera, but he's going to chime in for a second. Go ahead, John.
Mark, I just wanted to give you guys a shout out, because with the way the industry has been this last year, I have not been able to get ammo for a bunch of my guns. So this year, my goal was to improve my pistol shooting, which I have not been able to go out and shoot. And I ended up picking up some of your guys' airsoft and your CO2 blowback guns. And most people look at those as they're almost like a toy, but they are a great training tool.
Oh yeah.
Because after spending a year working on my grip, working on my trigger control with those guns, going back into a range, I've noticed a considerable drop in my groupings.
That I'm glad you said that. And I got to ask you, I don't know, when I worked in the service department, there was somebody at Hawke I used to work with. They had you got to test your scopes on our RWS 350 Magnum. And I can't remember what the name of the fellow was, but anyways, if you're him, John, I used to help you out a long time ago. But back to the topic of what you were talking about. Yes, you are absolutely on fire with that sentiment. A couple of years ago, a guy I ran into on Instagram, his name's Mike the Great. And he was looking for some alternatives to training. And we got him hooked up with a G17 on the airsoft side. And he was doing some crazy stuff where he set up a range in his garage and everything. But the whole point is that, and especially now, it's never been more valid, is that you can shoot an airsoft gun if you can find it to buy it, the caveat there. But you can shoot an airsoft gun for pennies per shot and get 90% of the training that you would be with a firearm, with the ammunition that you couldn't buy, because you can't find it, and for no matter what price nearly. But that's some of the content that we were making today was centered around, training with airsoft. And so it also bears to mention, companies like Laser Ammo, they're taking our Glock replicas and converting those for their laser target system. So it's got the gas blowback system operating the slide. So you're getting that recoil. And so you can shoot this in your living room. There's no BBs going anywhere. It's just the laser target system. So there's lots of innovation in that side of the industry that's moving out into the firearms world. So yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot of people looking to that to train. And it's really a fantastic option. It's like, people that, 2 years ago, turned their nose up at the idea of using an air gun to train with, are like, hey man, can you hook me up with an airsoft gun?
Yep.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
No problem. And yeah, you guys being able to license products so that, hey, it's the same kind of weight, it has the exact same feel as what I'd normally be shooting. That's such a huge plus.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. Thank you.
Well, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We're going to get retooled here, and John's going to be joining us for our next segment. And we're going to run a little late tonight, but you know what? It's our show. If you don't like it, tough. We're going to run a little bit late. It's just fine. Mark, thank you so much for coming up and being here with us tonight. I would say thank you to JB, and sorry we missed Iden. Maybe I just didn't get the email to him and fast enough. So, but maybe we can twist his arm and get him up here another time.
Awesome.
Maybe on the Airgun Guys show and the Airgun Guys and Gals show or something, we can get him up here and talk about hunting and shooting stuff and having a good time. Umarex definitely disrupting the market in a good way on so many different levels. And it brings, you know what I love about it is it brings that competitiveness back into the field where, hey man, if you come out with this and this guy comes out with that and that guy comes out, it makes the market far more robust. And so that we as air gunners have so many more, not just choices, but good choices to choose from. That's very, very cool. What?
I'm not asking this question, but there's a great question in the chat. Umarex need to go read the chat.
Okay. There's some things that Sue was just telling me. If you go to our YouTube channel, you go to the live feed, you can actually read the chat messages. You guys might find those interesting on your leisure. Kind of that consumer feedback and viewer feedback might be good for you guys. We are going to wrap it up. I want to say thank you to all of our sponsors. I mean, we've got Gateway to Airguns, Airguns of Arizona, Predator Pellets. We got Hawke in the house, and of course, Umarex bringing this whole segment to us this night. So you guys, thank you so much for watching. Join us for our next segment. Give us like 10 minutes. We'll be back up here live again with Hawkeoptics, talking about all the cool stuff they got. And all tomorrow, you be here tomorrow. You got to leave, don't you, John? John,
Figure out how to get back.
John is trying to figure out, I got to get back to shoot these guns.
Yeah, y'all are doing range day the next 2 days when I'm not going to be here. I see how it is.
Yes, we planned that. We knew we weren't going to have enough ammo. But hopefully you can swing back around. But we're going to go ahead and dig off. Mark, thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bye-bye,
Mark.
everybody.
Mark.
Thank
Take
you.